What do you do when something breaks? Something you loved, something you built, something you thought would last. Most of us do two things. We try to fix it, fast, invisible, as if it never happened. Or we throw it away. But what if there was a third way? What if the break itself was the beginning of something more valuable? Welcome to Your Amazing, your space to pause, to calm down, reconnect to your roots, awaken your spirit, and remember what truly matters. This podcast is called Your Amazing for a reason. You are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. You are not a problem to be fixed. Even when life feels messy, there is wisdom in you. Today, I want to bring you something from Japan. It's called Kintsugi. And I'm not a ceramic expert, not even close, but when I came across this concept, something in me stopped. And I've been thinking about it ever since. So as always, this is my understanding, my lens, what it activated in me, and what I think it might have to do with the way we live, the way we heal, and the way we see ourselves. Hi, I'm Jorma, a coactive coach building my own practice. And I've worked in corporate for more than 20 years. And today, we are exploring what a broken cup and a little gold can teach us about being human. Let's pause and look at that together. Kintsugi, two Japanese words. Kin, golden. Tsugi, joinery. To join with gold. The story goes that in the 15th century, a Japanese shogun broke his favorite tea bowl and sent it away to be repaired. When it came back, it was held together with ugly metal staples. He was horrified, so he asked his craftsmen to find a better way, one that didn't hide the damage, but made something artful out of it. What they created was Kintsugi. When a ceramic breaks, a cup, a bowl, a vase, instead of throwing it away or hiding the cracks, you repair it with gold. The crack becomes a line of gold running through the object, and the piece becomes something it was not before. Not despite the break, because of it. The philosophy behind it is that the story of an object is part of its beauty. The crack is not a flaw to be erased. It is a story to be honored. A traditional kintsugi repair can take weeks, sometimes months, and over time some repaired pieces became treasured precisely because of the repair. I remember a coaching conversation where someone carried something they called a failure, a relationship that had ended, a version of themselves they felt they had lost. As we talked, I noticed they were trying to get back to who they were before, to restore the original, to make it look like the break never happened. And what slowly became clear was the person sitting in front of me was not less, they were more than before. The break had revealed something that the unbroken version had kept hidden. To me, that moment felt like Kintsugi, not hiding the crack, not rushing past it, but asking, what does this break want to show me? Before we continue, I want to hold this with care. Self-discovery can sometimes touch tender places. Things that are bigger than a podcast or a coaching conversation can hold. If anything feels overwhelming or unsafe, please reach out to a therapist, a trusted professional, or a crisis support service in your country. I will place a resource down in the show notes. Take care of yourself. So this topic became personal for me in the most ordinary way possible. A few months ago, one of our favorite mugs from Australia fell off the shelf and broke. It sounds small, and in one sense it is. But in that moment I noticed something. My first instinct was to throw it away. It's broken. Get a new one. I know that logic well. Products are cheap. Replacement is easy nowadays. Moving on is efficient. But something in me stopped. I remembered Kintsugi. I looked it up and found a workshop here in Hamburg. A real Kintsugi workshop. that is almost always fully booked, and I'm still waiting for a place to join. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to repair this mug with gold. And then I sat with what that actually means. A traditional repair takes weeks. It requires specific materials, real attention, real time. For a mug, I could replace for a few euros. And I asked myself, am I willing to invest that, my time, my attention, my care, into this one object? And the answer was yes, because I realized if I do that, this mug will never be just a mug again. It will carry something, the story of the break, the choice to repair, the time I gave it, that changes the object. Not its material value, but its meaning to me. It can feel like we live in a world that loves youth, perfection, and the new. Replacement is always one click away, and somewhere in that speed, something real gets lost. Because the things that mean the most to me are rarely the newest or the most perfect. They are the ones that carry a story, the ones that have been through something. And then I thought about my coactive certification because during one of our coaching sessions, a coach used the Kintsugi metaphor intuitively, in the room, in the moment, for a coachee who felt that something in their life was beyond repair. Not because the coach gave advice, but because the image said what words couldn't. The break is not the end. It might be the most important part of the story. So if I bring Kintsugi into my inner life, I don't want to turn this into a lesson. That would feel too small. But it leaves me with 3 gentle invitations. The first one is this. Maybe the break is part of the story, not the end of it. Sometimes we treat our cracks as failures, things to hide, things to rush past. But I wonder if some of the places where life cracked us open also carry truth. Not because the break was good, not because it didn't hurt, but because something in us stayed, something in us continued. And this is the second invitation. What we choose to repair may show us what we value. Kintsugi asks for time, attention, and care. And maybe life asks the same. Not everything needs to be repaired. Not everything should be restored. But when something still matters, a dream, a relationship, a part of ourselves, perhaps the care we give it becomes part of the gold. And the third invitation is, speed is not always healing. I know how tempting it is to move on quickly, to be okay, to become efficient with pain. But Kintsugi takes time. The object does not become what it was before. It becomes something new, carrying both the before and the after. We often confuse moving on quickly with moving on well. At least I know I do. So maybe the question is not only, how do I get back to who I was? Maybe the deeper question is, what am I becoming through this? It's not about staying broken. It's about listening for what is worth the gold. Okay, let's do a short pause together and bring one crack or little break to mind. Something you feel safe enough to be with today. It doesn't have to be the deepest wound, just something your heart can touch gently. Maybe a relationship, a dream, a version of yourself, a moment that changed you. And take a slow breath. And ask yourself, have I been trying to hide this break or pretend it never happened? And take another breath. What is true about who I am becoming right now? What is true about who I became through this? And now ask yourself gently, if repair is possible or wanted, what would it mean to honor this story, not erase it? And one last question. What is one small, honest step from here? No pressure, no fixing. No need to make meaning too quickly. Just notice what comes. And if it feels right, quietly say to yourself, my breaks and cracks are part of my story. And some of them may be made of gold. And take one last breath. And that's the pause. Thank you for being here with me. Maybe today you don't need to fix anything. Maybe it is enough to notice what still matters. And here's your question for the week. What in my life am I trying to hide, rush past, or replace that might actually be worth repairing with gold? Or more simply, what break or crack in me is asking to be honored, not erased? And if this episode touched something in you, take it gently with you. If this space supports you, follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. And if someone came to mind while listening, send this episode to them. I'll see you in the next pause, because sometimes the real shift is not in fixing things faster. It is in choosing what is worth the gold. Now it's magnificent. I'm Jorma, and you're amazing. Take care of yourself. Bye.